Hello everyone, my name is Nilakshi Mate. Today we start aggregate planning. So before going for the actual meaning of aggregate planning and aggregate planning strategies, there are different methods. We have to understand what is meant by planning, and it comes under the production planning and control. So what is the production planning and control system? It must have to know. So we go first about the what is meant by production planning and control, then what is meant by planning. Okay, now start. So production planning and control is also known as PPC. It is a very critical decision which is necessarily required to ensure an efficient and economical production. So in planned production is an important feature of an any manufacturing industry. So production planning and control, it is a tool to coordinate and integrate the entire manufacturing activities in a production system. So first you have to know about the type of manufacturing. So there are three types of manufacturing: job type manufacturing, batch type manufacturing, and mass type manufacturing, means mass production. So in job production, we are planned for single or particular job, means we plan for building of ship. At one time we can build only one shift, so this is a job production. Second one is a batch production. In batch production, we go for the particular quantity of batch, means we manufacture a part for a 30 quantity, for 10 quantity, for 20 quantity, and so on. So there is a limited quantity will be manufactured, and in mass production we are continuously producing a product for fulfilling customer requirement. So these are the three types of manufacturing. So if we decide a one manufacturing system, then it is easier to plan according to that manufacturing system for particular product. So this is essentially comprises of planning production before actual production activities start, and then exercising control over those activities ensures that the planned production is realized in terms of quantity, quality, delivery, schedule, and cost of production. So there is a procedure for production planning which includes the plan, routing, scheduling, dispatching, inspection and coordination, control of materials, methods or machine used, tools and operating times. These are the main parameters which are considered while doing any kind of planning for the manufacturing of the product. So its ultimate objective is the is to plan and then control the supply and the movement of the material and labor. Then it is also important to control the machine utilization and related activities in order to bring about the desired manufacturing results in terms of quality, quantity, and time and place. So, this provides a physical system together with a set of operating guidelines for efficient conversion of raw material to finished product by giving some human skill inputs and other inputs. So, what is the procedure for the production planning and control? We can see further. So, the procedure contains the PPC is entirely based on the pre-designed format. It attempts to execute and implement all activities according to the set plan. So the all operations should be executed in a proper manner with a close tolerance or with the close to the accurate value. So, on all facts, ensuring that the time period and the stipulated cost should not go beyond the reach value, and it should be done under the expected policies. These costs are including the cost of asset, capital cost of the facility, and the labor cost. So the steps which are considered in PPC are forecasting the demand of the customer, then in advance preparing the production budget. Third one is a design the facility layout. Fourth one is specify the types of machine and equipment. Fifth one, appropriate production requirement of the raw material, labor, and machinery. Drawing the appropriate schedule of the production, confirming the shortage or any excess of the end product. Future plans are drawn for any sudden surge in demand for the product. And last one is the rate and the scale of the production in setup, which needs to be broken into realistic time period and scheduling. So the specified job needs to be done in the amount of the time provided, so the production can move to the next step. You can understand the steps of the production planning. So again tell you what is mean by planning. Once again, please keep in mind, the essentially comprises of planning production before actual production activities start, and then exercising control over those activities ensure that the planned production is realized in terms of quantity, quality, delivery schedule, and cost of the production. So the production planning also includes the other plans of routing, scheduling, dispatching, inspection, and coordination, control of material, methods, machines, tools, and operating times. This is the main parameters which are considering in the planning. Now we moving forward. PPC having a three stage basically. Those are, first one is the planning stage, second one is the action stage, and third one is the monitoring stage. All these three stages are very important from the point of view to production, because without planning no production work can take off at all. So the forecast is the main, means planning is the main thing. So the foremost thing which is required for any production is a proper planning. So we go further with the elements considered in the planning. So the elements are very important while doing planning. So planning refers to deciding in advance what is to be done in the future, and a separate planning department is established in any organization which is responsible for the preparation of policies and plans with regard to the production to be undertaken is due to course. The planning department prepares various charts, manuals, production batches on the basis of information received from the management. These plans and charts are given practical shape by carrying various elements under production control. If production planning is defective, production control is bound to be is bound to be is bound to be adversely affected. For achieving the production targets, production planning provides sound basis for production controls. Okay, then we go further. The important elements listed for the planning are materials, methods, machines and equipments, manpower, routing. Okay, so we see one by one what they consider in it. So first one is the material. Material means the planning for procurement of raw material, component, and spare parts in the right quantities and specification at the right time from the right source at the right place. Once again, I tell you, planning for the procurement of raw material, component, and spare parts in the right quantities and specification at the right time from the right source at the right place. So these activities consisting of purchasing action, storage action, inventory control, standardization and variety reduction, value analysis and inspections are the other activities also associated with the materials. So then we go for the next part, which is important element in planning is method. So choosing the best method for processing from several alternatives. So it is also including determining the best sequence of operations, means process flow, and the planning for tooling, jigs and fixtures is also very important before any planning of product. Then third one is the machines and equipments. So in machines and equipments, manufacturing method is related to the production facility which is available in our production department. So it involves the facilities planning, capacity planning, allocations and utilization of plant and equipment and machines. Fourth one is the manpower. So planning for manpower means labor and managerial levels of manpower for the particular product manufacturing. Having a appropriate skill and expertise is its most important factor while selecting manpower for the production. So last one is the routing, determining the flow of work material handling in the plant and sequence of operations or processing steps. This is related to the consideration of appropriate shop layout, plant layout, temporary storage location of raw material, component and semi finished goods and materials handling system. These are the five elements which are very important in the planning process or planning of the product. Now we go further, is our actual topic is aggregate planning. In aggregate planning, we see the definition of the aggregate planning first. So, what is meant by aggregate planning? Aggregate planning is an intermediate planning method used to determine the necessary resource capacity a firm will need in order to meet its expected demand. So, it is an intermediate range capacity planning, usually covering two-thirds or 2 to 3 months or 12 to 18 months. In other words, it is a matching of capacity and the demand in such a way that costs are minimized. In other words, aggregate planning is also defined as a process of developing, analyzing and maintaining a preliminary and approximate schedule of overall operations of an organization. So there is one more definition for the aggregate planning is an operational activity which does an aggregate plan for the production process in advance of 2 to 18 months to give an idea to management as to what quantity of material and other resources are to be procured and when, so that the total cost of operation of the organization is kept at a minimum over that period. So we compare these definitions and explaining the points involved in this definition one by one. So we take the second definition which is already told you, that is aggregate planning is the process of developing, analyzing, maintaining a preliminary and approximate schedule of overall operations of an organization. The aggregate plan generally contains targeted sale forecast, production levels, inventory level, and customer backlogs. This schedule is intended to satisfy the demand forecast at a minimum cost. So we take a look of every product which is included in the definition. is developing. First, we have to develop a one plan according to your production quantity given by the management, or the plan according to the data which is given by the management. Then analyze that plan and procure the machines, the equipments, the manpower for that particular production of the part. Then analyze all over your plan while we are establishing that plan in actual. Then maintain that accuracy. Then approximate schedule for the all operations in the organization for that particular production of that product is to be scheduled. This is the four component, those are very very important, which are included in aggregate planning. So this schedule is intended to satisfy the demand forecast at a minimum cost, which is properly done in aggregate planning to minimize the effect of short-sighted day-to-day scheduling, in which the small amount of material may be ordered one week with an accompanying layoff of workers, followed by ordering larger amounts and rehiring workers the next week. So this is longer term perspective on resource use can help minimize short term requirements, and the changes in the your activity is considered in the aggregate planning. Okay, now we go for the objectives of the aggregate planning. So what are the objective of the aggregate planning is, so first one is the maximize customer service, minimize the inventory investment, minimize the change in workforce level, minimize the changes in production rates, minimize the utilization of plant and equipment. So from these objective you can find out the simple definition of the aggregate planning is an attempt to balance capacity and demand in such a way that costs are minimized. So the term aggregate is used to because at this the planning at this level includes all resources in the aggregate. For example, a product line or family aggregate resource could be total number of workers, hours of machines, or tons of raw materials. Aggregate units of output could include gallons, feet, pounds of outputs, as well as aggregate units appearing in service industries such as hours of service delivered, number of patients seen, etc. So aggregate planning is for the sizes, the quantity, etc. So aggregate planning does not distinguish colors, features, and so forth. For example, with automobile manufacturing, aggregate planning would consider the total number of cars planned for, not the individual model, color, or options. When units of aggregation are difficult to determine, for example, when the variation in the output is extreme, so equivalent units are usually determined. These equivalent units could be based on value, cost, worker hours, or some similar measures. So, in short, aggregate planning is considered to be intermediate term in nature. So, henceforth, most aggregate plans cover a period of 2 to 18 months. Aggregate plans serves as a foundation for the future short range type planning, such as production scheduling, sequencing, and loading. So, the master production schedule used in material requirement planning has been described as a aggregate plan. Steps in the aggregate plans we see in the next lecture. Thank you.